Hello everyone, hope your day or night is going well. As for me, it couldn't be better. Today we are continuing with the Rimworld lore series, and this time we're going to talk about the various substances that exist within its universe. Just like their real-life counterparts, the substances from the universe of Rimworld have two main uses, either to be used recreationally in order to lower stress or experience a certain type of high, or to enhance and improve its user's body at the risk of forming an addiction, possibly leading to various health issues. First of all, let's categorize them. There are three substances categories within Rimworld: social, hard, and medicinal. Social substances are generally light. They present little to no risk of addiction if not overused, and they serve as a way to improve a person's mood. The first social substance, and perhaps the most common one within the universe, is going to be beer. Created from hops, I am not going to overanalyze it, as I'm sure everyone knows what beer is. Next on the list is ambrosia. Ambrosia is an interesting one. It is not manufactured under any form, instead it presents itself as a soft fruit sprouting from ambrosia bushes. Yellow-greenish in color, ambrosia provides a mild chemical high if ingested, and an overall feeling of comfortable warmth over the body. While the chances are low, if eaten too often, ambrosia presents an addiction risk. People addicted to ambrosia describe the withdrawal symptoms as feeling cold and heavy and constantly craving for it. Ambrosia most likely evolved the way it did in order to seem more appetizing towards animals to more easily spread the seeds located within its fruit. After all, if the seeds were to survive going through an animal's digestive tract, the resulting dung will prove to be a great fertilizer, allowing a new plant to grow with ease. A curious trait about ambrosia plants is that they can sprout seemingly anywhere if the correct climatic conditions are met, but they cannot be planted and farmed as other plants. They can only be foraged within the wild, and the fact that they cannot be mass-produced, is what makes them so rare and coveted by many. In terms of technological level, ambrosia is on the Neolithic scale. The next recreational substance on the list is psychite tea. Psychite tea is made from psychite leaves, infused in water just like regular tea. While the leaves themselves derive from a psychite plant, a leafy plant which generates a chemical compound called psychite used in the creation of other types of substances as well. Initially, psychite plants evolved to produce psychite as a self-defense mechanism against herbivore animals, with the psychite found within the leaves overstimulating and rendering sick animals eating it. Psychite tea is described as a fragrant and as euphoria-inducing. Not just that, but psychite tea can also provide an energy boost, as people consuming it report feeling great and energized. This type of substance is especially popular among tribal colonies, as they consume it somewhat regularly, either as part of a ritual or just to energize themselves for the day. While it bears some risk of addiction, psychite tea can be consumed safely every 2 days risk-free, making it an incredibly useful product. In terms of technological level for its production, psychite tea finds itself on the same level as ambrosia, on the Neolithic scale. Following next is smoke leaf. Smoke leaf plants present a chemical compound which can be consumed by rolling the leaves into a joint and smoking it. Consuming smoke leaf greatly improves mood, but increases appetite and overall reduces focus and motorics, rendering its consumer very slow, both in moving and thinking. Smoke leaf addicts, upon entering withdrawal, report feeling as if the world and themselves became incredibly tired, slow, and boring. Once again, in terms of technology, smoke leaf finds itself on the Neolithic scale. Now, let's move on to the next category: hard substances. This category presents the risky ones, substances that drastically affect the body both positively and negatively, and present a high chance of addiction. The first on the list is going to be flake. Flake is a white powdery substance derived from refining psychite. Flake can be smoked in order to induce a short but strong feeling of euphoria, improving mood and granting energy along with a debilitating high. But its addictiveness is off the charts and extremely unhealthy for the body. The true danger of flake, though, lies within its availability. Flake is not only really easy to produce, but also cheap, earning for itself a reputation across the universe for destroying entire societies. On a technological level, flake is on the industrial scale. Following flake, another hard substance created from refining psychite is Yayo. Much like flake, Yayo looks white and powdery, but its consumption is achieved by snorting rather than smoking it, causing a similar high and feeling of euphoria and energy, but acting as a painkiller as well. Yayo consumers often report feeling pumped, and much like flake and smoke leaf, feeling slow and boring if entering withdrawal. Yayo is often compared to flake, with flake being a crude, cheap substance and Yayo being its refined and expensive counterpart, which is why on many societies Yayo is associated with degenerate wealth and opulence. Much like flake, Yayo has also affected entire societies during history, as many rash political decisions were taken within throne rooms or boardrooms during Yayo-fueled binge parties by emperors, commanders and politicians alike. Once again, just like flake, Yayo presents itself as an industrial substance on the technological scale. Following next on the list, this is a really interesting one: goat juice. Goat juice is created from refining Yayo and neutramine together. Neutramine is a synthetic precursor chemical, the main ingredient for many substances and medicine across the entire universe. Goat juice is usually contained within a small green bottle and consumed by injecting it into the bloodstream. I have mentioned goat juice previously in my video regarding the Hussars, but if you haven't watched that, don't worry, we'll go over it again. Goat juice is a synthetic performance-enhancing substance initially developed for space marines during early days of interplanetary warfare. Perfect for combat is that it essentially blocks pain, enhances motoric functions, and improves hand-eye coordination for better aim or close-range melee combat. The military chemists that created goat juice, though, never managed to remove its addictiveness, in the same way that Tynan never managed to remove Rimworld's own addictiveness. Seriously, just look at your own playtime. But back on the goat juice, for many, this addictiveness came as a benefit, as many commanders were able to control their troops through that addiction, using goat juice both as a reward or restricting its access as a punishment, possibly for insubordination or cowardice. After taking goat juice, users report feeling pumped but steady, as a bullet in flight ready to cut through someone. Alternatively, users entering withdrawal reported various negative symptoms: heavy limbs, tiredness, increased hunger, fuzzy thoughts, and inability to focus their eyes properly, and a 300% increased sensitivity in their pain receptors. We can only assume that a prolonged use of goat juice in time would lead to more severe effects, such as increased heart rate and blood pressure, heightened risk of stroke or heart attack, severe dehydration and heat stroke due to hyperactivity, paranoid delusions, long-term cardiovascular damage, and a great potential for neurotoxicity leading to cognitive decline. On a technological level, much like flake and Yayo, goat juice finds itself on the industrial scale. Following next is Wake Up, which is what I take every day in order to stay up all night to play Dark and Darker. Wake Up is a synthetic stimulant, which, as the name suggests, allows its users to remain awake for longer periods of time, eliminating any immediate requirement for sleep. It has a decent addictiveness factor to it and a small overdose risk, even if taken only once. In many large companies or competitive universities, people who usually achieve high positions or great results are called wake-ups, as they are often associated with this type of substance. Withdrawal from wake-up includes symptoms associated to tiredness and a lack of mental focus. This too is a substance located on the industrial technological level. On to the next category, we have medicinal substances. Truth to be told, I am a bit disappointed that there's only like 2 of these. It feels like in a universe as vast as Rimworld, there definitely should have been more. Perhaps they're just not accessible to colonies on Rimworlds. I would expect there to be far more of them on Glitter Worlds or Herb Worlds. Anyway, let's start with the first one, the penoxycyline. Penoxycyline is a simple one. Its whole purpose is to be taken once every 5 days in order to prevent infections and illness, like malaria or the plague. It is important to note that penoxycyline does not cure any of the above mentioned issues, it simply prevents them from happening in the first place. Other than that, penoxycyline does not give a high. It doesn't create any sort of euphoric feeling or sense of energy. It is purely medicinal. In theory, penoxycyline is not addictive. For the other substances that I mentioned, their long-term presence in the body can cause neurological adaptations at cellular level, causing the brain to be unable to function properly without that substance. This is not the case of penoxycyline. The game doesn't state the origins of penoxycyline in the same way that it does for Go Juice, but personally I'm going to assume that penoxycyline was developed during a war as well, for soldiers or space marines to consume during prolonged periods of warfare in jungles and tropical environments where sickness is abundant, especially if you're fighting, being constantly wounded, exposing your body to all sorts of germs and bacteria. Again, on a technological level, penoxycyline finds itself on the industrial scale, and it's the result of refined nitroamine. Finally, the last entry on this list is going to be Luciferium. Luciferium is probably the most interesting one out of the bunch. It has by far the strongest effects and the greatest risk associated with its use. Luciferium takes the aspect of a red pill, and the benefits from using it are unparalleled. Improved blood filtration, digestion, blood pumping, sight, consciousness, breathing, pain, tolerance, and molarics. Luciferium is a pill that essentially contains a large dose of mechanites. Once taken, these mechanites will work tirelessly to improve everything within its user's body. Not just that, but over time they will be able to heal small permanent wounds, such as scars and even brain damage, along with chronic health conditions. On this aspect, Luciferium is really strong, but the negative effects might make you want to rethink twice before taking such a pill. Luciferium is a long-term commitment. Actually, it's a lifelong commitment. Even if taken just once, there will be no quitting afterwards. The issue with those mechanites running through your brain, your bloodstream, and working to keep everything in perfect shape is that, over time, they will start to lose cohesion, they will go out of control, and eventually kill its user. The only way to prevent this is to ingest more Luciferium in order to bring in new mechanites to keep the old ones under control, moderating their behavior inside of the body. This is something that is required once every 5 or 6 days, 6 days being the hard limit. After that, the mechanites will start going berserk and eventually destroy the user's brain, meaning that even a sanguiphage wouldn't be able to survive a Luciferium withdrawal. The issue is that even after death, the mechanites will not deactivate. They will still remain within the body, so if someone were to be resurrected through the use of a Resurrector mech serum, the mechanites will still be present in their body and they will require further Luciferium to remain alive. On Herbworlds, Luciferium is also referred to as the Devil's Bargain, which is also probably where the name of the pill derives from. Problem is that Luciferium is rather rare, and I will assume extremely legal on many planets, so it shouldn't come as a surprise that some Luciferium users will do anything in order to get more of it on their hands. The only way to save someone's life if they're addicted to Luciferium but have no more to ingest will be probably to suspend their organic functions by putting them into a cryptosleep casket or a biosculptor pod. In any society where Luciferium could exist, there will be a significant social and ethical issues. Dependency on a substance that can't be removed once administered would lead to societal instability, with potential increases in crime and social inequality based on access to Luciferium, where the rich will probably have no issue in procuring more of it on a regular basis, while the poor or the sick that were perhaps forced to take Luciferium in order to survive at some point will struggle to continue procuring it. I will assume that on some Herbworlds, Luciferium could also be used by gang leaders or rich mafia bosses in order to control their subordinates, forcing them onto a Luciferium addiction and using it as a reward for following orders and committing various crimes on their behalf. Luciferium is definitely a fascinating yet terrifying concept. Even from a gameplay perspective, for your colony it can serve as a powerful narrative device. It can create both stories of triumph, drama, and eventually tragedy. Luciferium on term of technological level is really high up there, finding itself on the ultra-tech scale, a technological level bested only by the Archotech one. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. It's completely free, but it supports this channel. I also really enjoy reading your thoughts in the comments, and I generally try to reply to everyone, so let me know down below what you think of this video. As always, I wish you good night, and I will see you in the next video.